This is Brian, and welcome back to this commentary playthrough of Super Metroid, and what I'm kind of hoping will be the last part of it. If it's not the last part, though, it should at least be the penultimate. So, let's get going and see if we have to beat this guy. Okay, the door is sealed behind me. Okay, I guess there's nothing in here, you just can't go back. But at this point, I don't have anything I had planned on going back for anyway. All the enemies are like desiccated husks. Now, does that mean I'm gonna run into the thing that made them that way? Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, I think that was basically scripted for you to have to do that. Because it almost kills you, but then I think it realizes who you are, because this is the one that you rescued, or that you took with you from the planet in the second game. Thanks for basically leaving me for dead. But I guess it doesn't matter too much. Got a recharge room right here. I think I should still have my energy tanks, my reserve tanks full. Yeah. Because it didn't make me dip into those, it just took me down to 1 energy. This is probably quite unnecessary, but I think that door stays open, or turns into a blue one, yeah, so that way I can at least refill my missiles back to full. Now are we going to have more of those other regular Metroids in here? Don't remember. Let's act as if we will, though. Doesn't really look like it, though. Ah. 3 missiles takes care of those guys. I suppose if I went back I could recharge again. I only lost 1 energy though, and 3 missiles, so I think we'll go ahead and head forward. Looks like there's a save door here, so, or save room. Well, that's nice, at least. We get saved here with almost everything filled up. If we do fail. Oh, God. flashbacks. The first game. Ah. Yeah. Don't worry. We're not done. I know that part. Don't remember what the best path is going to be. I don't know if missiles or charge shot are making much of a difference. Basically just rocking her in the face. Can we get out of that? Okay, I think that was scripted also. You're supposed to get to this point, so I think I'm actually doing alright. Because I can't move now. And yeah, that guy comes in and basically locks onto her head. I don't think he completely kills her off, though. But what he does do, I think, basically gives us our energy back, or gives us other brain's energy. Yeah, he's still back up and going. I think she basically kills off the Metroid here. But after we've been recharged. And I still have my reserve tanks too. Aw, you poor life-sucking parasite. He was our life-sucking parasite, damn it. Yeah, basically you got the supercharged up beam now. Just rock her with it. I think from this point, it shouldn't be too hard to win. I don't even care if I'm taking a few hits. Because yeah, I think that's it. I don't know what kind of a beam this is considered now. And yes, once again, we got a timer to get out of here. Don't even remember exactly what the path is, but I'm hoping it's pretty straightforward here. And you do have some of those guys here, but I'm almost at full health, so not really sweating them. Alright, here, I'm pretty sure we want to climb up. Do we have to go around, though, or can I get through? Ah. Okay, it makes things kind of awkward here with all of the screen shaking and everything. All the way down. Okay, got about a minute and a half left. Added wrinkle, they have the acid or lava rising from underneath. But this is we've been on this shaft before. This is like the way you escaped in the first game, I think. Gotta get back to the ship. Yeah, and those vents or steam are still hurting me too. We're almost there. Alright, is that it? Looks like they blow up the whole planet this time. I'm gonna say, we had to get away from a time bomb in the first game, but then for this game, it's still there. Like, all the facility and everything is pretty much still there. I don't know how that's supposed to be explained necessarily. Maybe that wasn't as powerful of a bomb, I suppose. The operation was completed successfully. Clear time, 9 hours, 17 minutes. Not a great time. I don't know what the record is, but I'm sure somebody can do it in an hour or two. Maybe even less if you just plow through without getting all of the upgrades and stuff. Very few. I thought there was a fight at the end with like a Mecha Ridley or something, but I guess I must be thinking of one of the later games, or maybe a different version of it or something. I don't know. we'll let the credits roll and see if there's anything else at the end. And then I'll give a short review and we'll talk about what's going to go next in this time slot. Or if there'll be anything right away. Probably. Some of these names I wouldn't even want to try to pronounce. I think for the most part I'd probably get most of them, but I don't want to offend anybody in that respect. Yeah, I didn't have a fast enough time to have any great reveal there, I don't think, if it's like the first game. Yeah, gives you a thumbs up. I don't know if that's the same in this one, though. Like in the first one, if you clear it in a certain amount of time, like she'll take off the whole suit. Oh, there we go. Gives you the rate. I got 97%. Yeah, I think I just missed 3 things, so what is there, 100 of them total? I suppose. Makes sense. Your next mission. Just stay on this screen then until you shut it off, I guess. Okay. Well, just for some quick thoughts, yeah, this is mostly as far as I've gone in the Metroid series, the first 3. Although I have played, like, Zero Mission, which is kind of a remake of the first one with some quality of life improvements and a little bit of extra content added in. I might do that one eventually here, but yeah, I know there are several more, and then you get into the 3D ones with the Prime series, which a lot of people like, but I guess I think that started for, like, the N64, maybe? And I didn't really go with Nintendo past the Super Nintendo. But as far as this game itself, what are some of the things I liked about it and some of the things I didn't like as much? Well, I did like the new abilities, some of them that they added in, and the fact that you had more abilities overall, like putting power bombs and super missiles into it. That was kind of nice. And navigating through some of those areas, having the X-ray beam was certainly nice, because you could just take your time, and it basically paused everything while you were scanning with it, so that was nice. The map was bigger, so it had a lot more territory to cover, so it really fleshed the game out more and turned it into a longer game. Like, even me playing it on a very casual playthrough, though, I still got it under 10 hours, so it's not a overly long game. I mean, for me, I'm somebody that's used to playing a lot of RPGs, and some of those, well, I guess most of them range from anywhere from 20 hours to over 100, depending on how you're playing through it. So 10 hours is a very short game for me. But I feel like for this kind of game, it was about right. And I also liked the way they kind of tied the story in. Like, I mean, these games aren't story heavy, but the way they tied in the first game and the second game was pretty cool. Like, you're in the same planet where the first game was, so they have a lot of references, and some of the map areas are even the same, so that was pretty cool. And the whole thing with the Metroid larva that you found on the second game and the planet there. This one is Zebes, whatever you want to pronounce it. But I don't think the one in the second game actually had a name. It was like a serial number, like SR388 or something like that. But yeah, that was kind of nice to have a tie-in to get them all connected there. Because I don't think like the first or the second game didn't make much of a reference at all to the first one, other than the fact that like, well, after the success on the first planet, Samus was on a mission to exterminate all the Metroids, and well, there's a bunch of them on that planet. I also I thought the gameplay was very fun in this one. I mean, it's fun in all of the games, but I mean, with the new upgrades and just the overall performance of the Super Nintendo, it was just a step up in that regard too. So I put that in the positive column there. And since it was a more fleshed out, longer game with a larger map, it also gave them more room to add more bosses in and a few sub-bosses. So it was nice to have a little variety and not just the regular enemies throughout the areas. Like in the first game, you didn't really have sub-bosses, I guess. I mean, you had just you had the two minor bosses and then the final boss, and that was it. So it was more about just the navigation through the map. And some of the bosses were pretty hard in this one, but that's probably just for me not completely understanding how to fight them, at least not right away. Like, I think I failed a couple times on them, but a lot of the other times, even my successful tries, I came pretty close to dying, really. The final boss was actually one of the easiest ones for me, but that's probably just because I had collected everything almost by that point. I had all the reserve tanks, I had all of the energy tanks. Yeah, we never even had to dip into the reserves at the end there, which, that's nice, I think. Maybe it shows that I was getting a little better at the game as it went, too. And plus, I mean, Mother Brain's just pretty easy. You just shoot up diagonally and just keep bombarding her. I did come close to running out of missiles, but I think the charge shot would have been good enough to take her out, too. And yeah, after you got her down at the end, you just had that souped up beam, whatever it was that you used, so made it pretty easy to finish her off. Now, let's talk about some of the things I didn't like as much. And I know a lot of people love this game, and I'm not saying it's not a great game. Just some nitpicks that I kind of had. The 100 items that you're picking up, it almost seems like too much. In a game like this, where you're counting on remembering where you've been and what you've been able to access. So without taking notes, it could be pretty tough, I could see, to remember what you need to go back and pick up. I was able to get through it, and even the ones that I didn't pick up, I actually remember where they were. But I'm just saying I can foresee that being difficult for some people. I'm not saying it was easy for me, but I just played through it pretty methodically and slowly, so we were able to do all that. That kind of leads into another point that I have here, and it's related to that. They did actually have a map in this game, whereas you didn't in the first two. But at some points, I don't know if it really helped that much, because they didn't really indicate things very well on the map. And like as far as your upgrades, and I think they did this in some of the later games, and even Zero Mission I think had it, where once you picked up an upgrade, it would indicate that on the map that you had already got it. So, yeah, it would have been nice if they would have done that here, but I guess it was just part of the evolutionary process, and they weren't completed. They weren't done with what they were doing. It was just a new feature they added, so yeah, I guess you can't expect it to be perfect right away. Another thing that I didn't like the most, and this was probably just me, so I'm not really saying that this should be a bad thing for everybody, but just my personal playstyle and ability. Some of the abilities were kind of tough to get the hang of using. Like, if you play through this game a lot, I'm sure it's not an issue. You get pretty used to doing all of it. But like the speed burst and that whole jumping ability to get through it, to get certain things, that was kind of tough for me at first. After I got it down, though, I did use it a couple times to get some of the upgrades, and I was able to pull it off pretty easily then, but it wasn't quite as intuitive as I thought it might be, or it would have been nice if there was like a help button prompt or something next to the ability to let you know how it works exactly and what buttons you need to press. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting too used to some of the newer games holding your hand on stuff like that. So I can appreciate the fact that some of these older games just kind of left you to figure stuff out on your own. And that kind of always makes you feel a little more accomplished, I think, too, when you do have to figure it out on your own. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd say that's bad or not. It just struck me as something that I noticed playing through it here. The other one that I had an issue with was the grapple beam. I didn't really like the way that mechanic worked. But like I said, that's probably partially just from my ability. And after you get like space jumps and stuff, well, grapple beam became necessary, so you could just bypass it if you didn't like using it. But I think for a couple things in the earlier parts, you had to do it to progress. So it forced you to kind of get used to using it a little bit. The last thing I wanted to mention is kind of in line with my complaint on the number of items. But it's the fact that you had to backtrack so much to pick up some things. And I know that's part of the way these games go, so take it as you will. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you had to go back to Brinstar after you get power bombs to pick up so many different things, it was just kind of out of the way, and another thing that could make it easier for you to miss some of these items. I feel like a playthrough for somebody like me that's not really used to this game, I think 97% was a pretty good collection rate, so I don't know if you'd feel the same way or not, but feel free to leave a comment on that if you want. So, yeah, that's the end of Super Metroid. If you do enjoy this game, or if you're not that familiar with it, but you think it looks cool, there are a few, I'm sure, but it's a good game for randomizers, if you're familiar with those. Basically, it takes all the items in the game that you can find, and it puts them in random spots. Now, most of the randomizers you can download and play. It'll take some setup, but I mean, if you search for it, you can find instructions on how to do that. But yeah, and they don't let you put items usually behind some place where you require that item to get to it, so it has logic that keeps progression open for you. But especially with this one and Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, those are my two favorite that I've seen people play. But Super Metroid and Zelda actually have a combined randomizer where you play between both games and pick up items for both and in the corresponding game as well. So yeah, that's an interesting one. If you haven't heard it, I would recommend checking it out. Now, as far as what's going to happen next on this channel at this time slot, I'm going to go away from Metroid, for now at least. I might eventually come back. Like I said, Zero Mission will probably be on the list at some point. There's so many good games to play. I'm going to go to the Mega Man, at least the NES series, at some point, but not exactly yet. I'm going to switch to the Zelda series for now. I wasn't as familiar with 1 and 2 for the NES because I didn't have those as a kid growing up. But I'll play those eventually. But what I'm going to start with is Link to the Past and Link's Awakening. And I think I'm going to go with Link's Awakening first, just because I kind of feel like playing another Game Boy game. And I think I'm going to do it on the Game Boy Color version of it, though. Not that I like the extra content in it necessarily, but I think it looks better as far as watching a video to have the color version than just the regular black and white one. So that's what we'll start tomorrow. But we're going to go ahead and call it there for today then. And if you did enjoy this playthrough and you're looking forward to more content, please like, comment, subscribe, or follow. And we'll catch you next time.